Hi everyone, this is Joanna Rogister, Wellness Renegade, and I'm going to share with you some tips and tools on how to sleep better. So many of us these days, between what's going on in the world, growing up, are challenged, right? A lot of us are very anxious and worried, so we're challenged to get a good night's sleep. And I'm finding this more and more with my clients. And so I wanted to share some of the tips and techniques and tools that I use to get a better night's sleep, because I can often have difficulty sleeping for all the same reasons that everyone else can. So Joanna Rogister, Wellness Renegade. This is Real Talk Wellness Renegades, part of Speak Up and Empower's online community of heart-centered people that are focused on finding more in their life, of sharing more, of searching for more. So I share the tips and tools that I know, and there are many more experts, people that are willing to share their story to help you have more in your life. So I'm a homeopath and a nutritionist, a speaker, an author, and an intuitive life coach. So all of these pieces come together so that I can help you in particular, get more sleep. Because it really is, sleep is so important. We all know that, but it's often very challenging to figure out how to get more sleep. So much happens in our bodies at night when we're sleeping. So it's really important to get that sleep, to fall into the REM cycle, to have dreams. We don't have to remember the dreams, but the dreams, we work out so much in our dreams. But to have the REM cycle and then the deep sleep that allows us, our bodies, to take care of ourselves, to detoxify, to bring back balance. And if we can, as long as we're getting sleep, then so much more happens during the day. So one of the big things, of course, is a lack of oxygen. And, so if you've got sleep apnea, and for those that sleep apnea is just where you actually stop breathing through the night. And most of the clients that I've had sleep apnea, by the time they get in and get one of the CPAP machines, they're stopping breathing like 100 times over an hour. So if you think of how much that will affect you, then you'll, in parts, maybe take that step to go get a sleep test done and to take a look and see whether or not you are breathing. You can ask your partner if you've got one, or else you'll just know if you're exhausted when you wake up in the morning. It's entirely possible that you have sleep apnea. So beyond that, breathing. Breath work, I can never overemphasize enough how important breathing properly is. To breathe deep into your belly, allow your belly to expand, because so often we're told all our lives to suck that in. So allow your belly to expand, and that will allow you to fill up your full lung capacity. So often we just breathe into the top part of our lungs. These full breaths will slow down your brain and slow down your body to help you be able to fall asleep. And, it's really important to be in a place of rest before you go to bed. So turn off those screens. Don't be watching TV just before you try and fall asleep, because you won't be able to. That stimulation of the lights and the sound and whatever you're thinking about will prevent you from falling asleep and getting into that place where your body is rested enough. Also, having the correct temperature in your room. If if your feet are always cold, you will not be able to fall asleep if your feet are cold. You may want to consider a hot water bottle, or, leaving your socks on, or putting your feet against your partner, or, an electric blanket is a great tool. Just with the electric blanket, just remember to turn off the electric blanket before you get into it, because that the EMP, like the electrical pulses going through it, can actually affect you physically, especially if you're pregnant. Please make sure that you turn off that electric blanket before you get into bed. So consider, making sure that the bed is warm enough, but you also don't want it too hot. Some people love to have a cold room with lots of blankets pulled on, like whatever makes you feel more comfortable. But also if you notice things that are preventing you from sleeping, like the cold feet, then start to do something about it, because it'll make your life so much easier. But also making sure that you turn off, that there's no lights in your room. That's really important. I actually wear an eye mask when I go to sleep now. I used to laugh at my kids about it because my daughter wears it all the time, but when I started wearing it, it made a big difference, because when there's any light in your room at night, it will keep you from falling into a deep enough sleep, and also could prevent you from falling asleep. Some people use those environmental sound machines, and if that works for you, then great. From a homeopathic standpoint, there are some amazing homeopathic remedies. Hi, Bernice. Thanks for watching. There's some great homeopathic remedies that can help you fall asleep. Now, with each homeopathic remedy, it's never just one, and that's the beauty, but also the challenge with homeopathic remedies, is to find one that works for you, that works for your symptoms. You can have 10 people with diabetes, and each one of those people will have slightly different symptoms. So homeopathy is not about the diagnosis, it's about your symptoms. So for example, if you worry a lot, or have you're overactively thinking, you're constantly overthinking things, then coffea, which you dried from the coffee plant, could suit you. Nux vomica. Nux vomica often is a great remedy for anyone that has overindulged in alcohol, who is waking up with a hangover. But Nux is also a great sleep remedy, especially for those that find themselves when they don't have enough sleep. And I can see that I'm freezing. But silica or silicea is a great remedy for anyone that is very nervous, or has very low stamina. And sulfur is great if you feel the heat in bed, or you feel very itchy and that wakes you up. Arnica is another great remedy, and it's one of the most common ones used, and it's for very restless sleep due to an overactive mind. So if you find that you can't fall asleep because you're thinking too much, or you fall asleep and then you wake up and then you can't fall back asleep again because you're thinking too much, then arnica could be the one for you. But once again, it's matching the remedy to your symptoms. And so working with a registered homeopath is always the best way to go. You wouldn't go to your mechanic for dental issues. It's the same thing. So find an expert, someone who knows, such as myself, but talk to someone about it, because homeopathic remedies, the beauty of them is they're all natural, so there's no side effects from them. We always, as a registered homeopath, I always double check for any contraindications for any medications that you're already on, just to make sure that nothing is going to conflict there. But homeopathy is just such a great natural alternative to anyone that's considering, that feels that they needed that added boost. Because all that homeopathy does, not all it does, because that underestimates it, but it just stimulates your system to heal itself. And we are all designed to heal ourselves. So we've just forgotten how. So having the tools that you need naturally are a great way to go. So homeopathy is a great way to go. And typically with homeopathy, you might take it, they're just little tiny pellets. They come in bottles like this, and you can see them. They're just little tiny pellets, and you dissolve them underneath your tongue. Don't take what's recommended on the bottles, because often, for example, this one says adult dose 3 pellets 3 times a day. You don't need to do that, but you may want to take, so for sleep, you might want to take it half an hour before you go to bed, something along that lines. But you usually only need to take 1. You don't need to take 3. So yeah. So homeopathy is a great alternative. Stopping drinking. So often, a lot of us, especially as we grow up, we have to wake up to go to the bathroom. And this can cause us, of course, to, break that sleep cycle. So couple tips there. Stop drinking at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, or just drink small amounts to rinse out your mouth. If you're finding that you have bad breath at night or bad breath in the morning, often that's caused by bacteria that's sitting in your mouth. And if your mouth is dry, the bacteria is able to grow and cause that bad breath. So, rinse out your mouth lightly, but try and stop drinking after 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And that allows your system to release any fluids that are there. Now, on the other hand, it's also very important to drink enough during the day, because if you're not drinking enough, your body will actually hold on to the fluids and not release them, because it doesn't know when it's going to get its next drink. And so it will store things up. And if you store things up, it's going to release it at night as it utilizes those fluids. And so you may have to get up during the night to go to the bathroom more often if you're not drinking enough. I know that I know when I've had enough water, when if I'm not getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom a couple times. So, getting up once, that's pretty common, but to get up more than that, it is one of the big things, especially with perimenopause and menopause for women, is that our systems are not functioning at a high level of balance. And so it's really important to do all these little things to make sure that we are drinking enough water, but then stopping it. For those that have tea at night, great if that works for you to have a tea at night. I can't do anything caffeinated after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but I also don't drink tea at night, because I'm then going to have to get up and go to the bathroom. So, but whatever works for you, if tea helps you sleep, then go for it. And there are some really great teas out there that can help you sleep. They're designed, they're formulated specifically to help people sleep. So, if a tea works for you, like chamomile, mint tea, there's a lot of mixtures of herbal teas that will help you. Just, of course, stay away from anything that's caffeinated, because the caffeine will prevent you from sleeping, if you didn't know that already. And so if you are actually a coffee drinker, that would be one of the first things I would recommend, is cutting out that coffee, anything past noon. And coffee is such a big deal. So I would prefer any of my clients to get down to 1 cup of coffee a day. And, you don't have to do that right away, but ideally, if you drink 3 or 4 cups a day, then slowly, over time, cut out 1 of those cups of coffee, because that coffee, as much as it may feel like, you may feel like it's essential to your life, it's not. You are likely addicted to it. And as you start to cut out coffee, you may notice that you're getting headaches. And that's because your body is addicted to the caffeine boost that you get. And anytime that you love something, it's often because it's actually not good for you. And so it would be a matter of slowly weaning yourself from it, because your body loves that stimulation, whether it's a good stimulation, if you're, exercise, or a stimulation that's not good for you, like an over an abundance of stimulants. Your body doesn't really care. It likes to be stimulated. And so it will, give you these signals of, I want more of that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you need more of that. It just means that, it's something to pay attention to and to be that observer in your life, so you recognize the signs of something that's good for you and something that your body may want, but it's not good for you, like coffee. And coffee can irritate the lining of your bladder. It can irritate your stomach. That extra caffeine can stimulate hormones to be released that stay in your body and aren't utilized. And so they can cause damage. Your body doesn't know what to do with them, so it stores it up. Anyways, the big old story. So I won't go on about coffee too much, because, I don't mind 1 cup of coffee, but more than that is often not good for you. Whether it's black tea, which often can actually have more caffeine in it than a cup of coffee, or, so ideally you're going to go to an herbal tea that doesn't have caffeine in it. Sorry for those people that love their coffee. But beyond that, so, take a look at your diet, take a look at if you, sugar will prevent you from sleeping. And sugar is one of those things that, if you've had a strong drink, or you add sugar to your tea, or you've had a dessert later on, sugar can keep you awake. It's often, when I used to have a Ryan Coke, I would think that it was the alcohol, but often, because Coke is so high in sugar, I think it was, I know it was actually the sugar that actually played a role in keeping me awake later on. So with regards to supplements, there's some amazing supplements out there. And I talk about these on a pretty regular basis, but just in case. So calcium causes your muscle to contract, and magnesium causes them to release. So if you're having difficulty with your sleep, restless sleep, or falling asleep and then waking up, or restless legs to keep you awake, I would suggest taking some magnesium. Now, some people like magnesium before they go to bed, but other people find that it actually causes some issues. So taking magnesium in the morning is actually better. I take mine in the morning, but I certainly know people that it works for them to take them in the evening. And if you take magnesium bisglycinate, that's the form of magnesium that's most readily available to your body. So your body will utilize it much quicker than some of the other forms that are out there. So try that one. And so magnesium is usually the one that is a good go-to for someone who falls asleep, but then wakes up and then has difficulty falling asleep again. And it's not the be all and end all. There's lots of other possibilities, but it's a great place to start looking for natural alternatives rather than taking medicines for insomnia. So homeopathic remedies, magnesium, melatonin, if you're challenged to actually fall asleep. And there's some amazing melatonin supplements out there. Actually, there's often some sleep supplements that are a mixture of melatonin and the magnesium and a couple other ingredients. And they will work very well if you take them half an hour to an hour before going to sleep. So they'll help you fall asleep and then help you stay asleep afterwards. The melatonin, I certainly take that every once in a while. And melatonin can work very quickly, but it can also take a period of time, as magnesium, to build up enough in your system. Melatonin is the equivalent of the hormone in your body that controls your circadian system, your clock cycle within your body. So if you're not getting enough melatonin, your body doesn't know that it's time to go to sleep. Lights can throw that off, and it's certainly part of, in the fall and the spring, when they change the clocks, it takes a while to get used to it, because all of a sudden we're thrown into almost a different time zone, and our body gets used to falling asleep with a certain light level. So that can make a big difference. So melatonin will help you fall asleep, magnesium to stay asleep. So you can try those supplements. There's also but once again, melatonin could work very quickly. If it's just thrown off by your cycle or whatever, or too much thought, or you watch TV in bed or something like that, whatever it is. But it's also, it can be that it takes a while for you to build up enough melatonin so your circadian clock is working properly and allowing you to fall asleep when it's time to fall asleep. And if you've had any sleep problems, all the things that you can do to make sure that you are setting up your body to be able to fall asleep, like shutting off the screens, right? Not watching TV before you go to bed, or, if you read at night before you go to bed, that can be okay, as long as it's not something very stimulating to you. But just make sure whatever screen you're using, that you're using a lower light on the screen, and that you're using, often most screens these days have that option to switch to a natural night cycle. So it's often a yellower light, so it doesn't get stimulated with the white that can be too bright and can prevent your body from recognizing that it's time to fall asleep. And so shutting off the lights, half an hour before, if you don't fall asleep quickly. Other things that you can do are, making sure that, the room is the right temperature for you, making sure that there isn't a lot of noise. Sometimes having a bath before you go to sleep can be really helpful. Not too hot a bath though, because then it's going to take a while for your body temperature to drop down low enough to fall asleep, because your body temperature does need to be at a certain level in order for you to fall asleep. So watch the body temperature, lights in the room, dark out, or either an eye mask or cover up the clock. Or, shut off the light so you're not being bothered by any light that is there. The other component to it is that overthinking things. So this is a challenge, but there's a few things that you can do with regards to that. So one of the challenges is to have a book beside your bed so you can write down all those things that you're thinking about. Or, when you wake up in the night and think, oh, I got to get this done, you can actually write it down. That's always a good tool to have, but also to spend time before you go to sleep. So if you shut off the lights and you don't fall asleep right away, then this is a great time to meditate and to look at your day and not judge yourself for what happened, but to look at the day and decide if there were things that happened that you didn't like, or you'd like to do differently, or that you want to adjust the next day. And you can then set up your schedule for the next day, so you're ready to go in the morning and you don't have to think about anything, right? Decide what clothes you want to wear, and what you're start to manifest what you would like your day to look like. Do you want it to be exciting? Do you want it to be where you feel fulfilled? Do you want it just to be peaceful, so you're not dealing with crap in your life? Whatever you want your day to look like, that's the time to actually manifest it. And how do we manifest? We think about the emotions that we want to feel, as opposed to specifics of who we want to see or anything like that. You can manifest that, but if you're lying in bed at night, I would just suggest the easiest way is just to think of the emotions that you want to feel and really feel them. So at this point in my life, I really want to feel joy. I really want to feel happiness. So I think of what brings me joy, what brings me happiness, and really feel that emotion. And then let the universe take care of the rest of it for you, so that you don't have to figure out how that's going to happen. You just say to the universe, this is what I want. And your subconscious and the universe will start to pull that for you. Reminder with affirmations, though, that they have to be believable. They can be a stretch, but they have to be believable. Because if you think I want to feel joy, and then you follow up with the thought that I can't feel joy, it's not possible for me, then you won't. But it is something, if you think, well, I want to feel happy for a moment tomorrow, then if that's enough for you, then wonderful. But it is, create that affirmation that's going to start to move things for you, not judging the past, of course, but just think about what I want my life to look like. There it froze. They're back again. So it's always a bit disconcerting to see my face frozen like that. But anyways, think about what you want to feel, and spend that time at night in a meditation, allowing your body to calm down and to relax, and to start to manifest the world that you're looking for. And maybe that manifestation is saying that I get, a good 5 hours sleep, or I get a full night's sleep, whatever you think you need. And then beyond that, it's you also can wake up in the morning and do a quick meditation and manifest what you want your day to look like. Because we forget that what we're living in right now doesn't have to be that way. We can change things. We can create the world that we're looking for. It's all possible, but our limitations prevent us from truly believing that. And I think that's one of the gifts that I have, is that I can help people uncover their blocks, so that they can start to create the world that they're looking for, and to move towards being that best version of themselves. So consider what you would like, and start to manifest it at night. And if that's too much, just start to think about your day and plan it. And so when you go fall asleep, you can be thinking about, what good can happen the next day, as opposed to what didn't work for you that day. Because ideally, the last thoughts we have before we fall asleep are great thoughts, because that's what we're going to focus on for the next 6 to 8 hours while we're sleeping. Our subconscious will focus on those last thoughts of the day. So ideally, we want them to be positive ones, and ones that are going to transform our life and make it the best version of our lives. So if you are having trouble sleeping, think about some homeopathic remedies. They can be really great for you. Think about taking some supplements, melatonin, magnesium. Think about, reducing the intake of fluids after a certain time at night. Think about getting more exercise, of course. If your body is exhausted, it's a lot more likely to fall asleep than otherwise. And, it doesn't have to be going to the gym, but just taking a walk, if you haven't been doing that, that'll be good for you. Giving your body a break with regards to food, and getting into some intermittent fasting, and stopping eating after dinner. Because a lot of times, if you've got a full stomach and your body's got a to break down that food, that can prevent you from falling asleep because your body's doing that work. So think about, stopping eating and stopping drinking at night. And, once again, with the drinking, small sips to refresh your mouth and get some of that, so keep it so it's not dry. Start thinking about the mindset. If you think about every night before you sleep, oh my God, I'm never going to fall asleep, then you won't fall asleep because that's what you've created in your world. And I know it's a challenge sometimes to start to reprogram yourself, but the more you notice it, the more you become aware of what you're doing, the easier it will be to start to change things down the road. So consider that. Beyond that, I think there is lots that can be done. These are some of the first steps to take, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Just pick one thing that I talked about and move towards incorporating that into your day-to-day life, and things will change and you will start to get a better night's sleep. Start thinking about your dreams and asking, what your dreams mean. Maybe watch a guided meditation before you fall asleep to help you fall asleep. Listen to the sounds of some environment, or put on your iPad or whatever and just fall asleep to those sounds. Whatever works for you, just keep trying things, because that sleep is so important for your health, mental, physical, emotional health. I'm Joanna Rochester. This is Wellness. I'm Wellness Renegade, and this was Real Talk Wellness Renegades on Speak Up and Empower, an online community of heart-centered people that want to share more with other people and want to help other people. We have conversations that change the way you look at the world. So join me every Tuesday at 10:30, and I share tips and techniques to help you from a natural perspective to heal yourself and your life. But also you can join me on Thursdays at 12:30 for Real Talk Soul Alchemy, and all about the journey of becoming aware of your soul purpose and uncovering the blocks that are preventing you from achieving it. So take a look at Speak Up and Empower on speakupandempower.com. But otherwise, if you have any questions or concerns or want more information about anything that I talked about, or any topic that you'd like to hear more about, just reach out, joannarochester.com, or you can check out my YouTube channel at, there we go, Joanna Rochester, Soul Alchemist. I'd love you to subscribe to that channel. Have a great day, and we'll see you next Tuesday.